Today, we're diving into Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. On the surface, this novel seems pretty simple, but it's actually one of the most ambitious and revolutionary books of the 20th century. With it, Woolf basically rewrote the rules for what a novel could even be. That brings us to the big question: how can a book about a family just hanging out at their summer home, a book where basically nothing happens on the outside, be so important? Well, that's the exact puzzle we're going to solve together. First, we'll look at the big picture, Woolf's Modernist Revolution. Then, we'll get into the novel itself, part by part, the window, the really shocking middle section, time passes, and finally, the lighthouse. By the end of this, you'll see exactly how Woolf built this incredible masterpiece out of nothing more than thoughts and memories. To really get what Woolf is doing here, you have to understand this huge shift that was happening in art and literature. She wasn't just writing another story, she was literally inventing a whole new way to tell one. This whole movement was called Modernism. Writers like Woolf and James Joyce, T.S. Eliot, they all sought to communicate how the internal world, our thoughts, our feelings, our memories, was actually more real and more interesting than any external action-packed plot. And Woolf became a master of this, trying to capture what she called the richness and complexity of mental interiority. This chart really lays it out. Think about those traditional 19th century novels. They're all about external events. What happens to people? They have a narrator who knows everything, and time moves in a straight line, while Woolf just throws all of that out the window. For her, the real story, the plot, comes from what people are thinking. Reality isn't some fixed objective thing. It's just a jumble of everybody's different points of view. And time? Time gets all wavy, stretching and shrinking, depending on what a character is remembering. So let's see how this actually works. We're diving into the first and longest part of the book, the window. This is where we meet the Ramsay family and all their guests at this summer house out in the Hebrides off the coast of Scotland. First, there's the Ramsay family, Mr. Ramsay, who's this very intellectual, kind of demanding guy, and Mrs. Ramsay, who's the warm, loving center of their universe. Then there's Lily Briscoe, an artist who's trying to figure out her painting. And then, always in the background across the water, you have the lighthouse. It's this constant, powerful presence. The big action that kicks the whole novel off is this. 6-year-old James wants to take a boat to the lighthouse. His mom says, "Sure, honey, if the weather's good." And his dad just shuts it down. Nope. Weather's going to be bad, that's it. That is the entire plot point. But that one little disagreement echoes through every single character's mind for the rest of the day. And this is a perfect example of Woolf's modernist style at work. Mrs. Ramsay is comforting James, right? But suddenly, we're inside her head, and she's not just thinking about the boat trip. She's thinking about time, about how her kids are growing up too fast, about how she wishes she could just press pause and keep them safe in this one moment forever. See how a tiny event blossoms into this huge, profound thought? The technique Woolf is famous for using here is called stream of consciousness. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's like she's placed a microphone directly inside a character's brain, and we get to hear everything, every random thought, every memory, every flicker of feeling just as it happens. She just glides from one person's mind to the next, weaving together this incredible tapestry of inner worlds. And she pairs that with another really subtle but brilliant tool called free indirect discourse. Okay, so the book is written in the third person. It says she thought or he felt, but the language and the feel of the narration starts to sound exactly like the character who's thinking. It completely blurs the line between the narrator and the character. So, you lose that sense of an objective storyteller. All you're left with is a collection of very personal, very subjective experiences. So, after spending hundreds of pages exploring a single day, Woolf does something absolutely wild. In the middle section, Time Passes, she basically hits the fast forward button on life. This section is super short, very poetic, and there are almost no people in it. The focus is on the empty house. We just watch as the seasons change, the house starts to fall apart, and an entire decade just vanishes. All those rich inner lives we were just so invested in, they're just gone, replaced by the silent, indifferent march of time. And this is where it gets truly brutal. Major life-shattering events that would be the climax of any other novel are just mentioned in passing, often in parenthesis. Mrs. Ramsay, the heart of the family, dies overnight. Her daughter Prue dies in childbirth. Her son Andrew is killed in World War I. Woolf reports these huge tragedies with this cold, detached feeling, making this powerful point that in the grand scheme of time, even our most painful moments are just little blips. And that brings us to the final act, the Lighthouse. Now time slows right back down and we're back inside the minds of the characters who are left trying to make sense of everything that's happened. The rest of the Ramsays, along with Lily Briscoe, come back to the summer house, but it's totally different. Without Mrs. Ramsay holding everyone together, the world feels broken and empty. Every single one of them is haunted by the past and trying to find some way to move on. The whole ending is really clever. It unfolds in two places at the same time. On one hand, you have Mr. Ramsay, who finally takes his kids on that trip to the lighthouse they talked about 10 years ago. It's a physical journey, but it's really about confronting his grief. And at the exact same time, back on the lawn, Lily Briscoe is confronting her own past by trying to finish that painting of Mrs. Ramsay that she gave up on a decade earlier. So, what's the deal with the lighthouse anyway? It's so much more than a building. It's this symbol of something permanent and stable in a world that's always changing. It sees everything: the family's joy, their tragedies, the passing of a decade, but it just stands there. It shines a light, letting us see, but it's also distant, something you can't quite reach. It's the constant thing that all this fleeting human life is measured against. And this gets to the very core of the book's philosophy. Woolf's novel shows that there's no such thing as one single objective reality. Reality is this messy, complicated, beautiful thing that's made up of everybody's different perspectives all smashed together. Think about Mrs. Ramsay. She isn't just one person. She's who her husband thought she was, plus who her kids thought she was, plus who Lily Briscoe remembered her to be. So there you have it. We've solved the mystery we started with. How can a novel with no action be revolutionary? Because Woolf completely changed the definition of action. The trip to the lighthouse isn't about a boat. It's about a journey through memory and grief. The real plot isn't what people do, it's what they think and feel. In this book, consciousness is the plot. And that leaves us with one last big thought. By focusing so intensely on our inner lives, Woolf shows us that an entire universe of feeling and memory can exist in one single quiet moment. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the seemingly small moments that have actually defined your reality?